All right, what's up, guys? We got another Bethesda dude talking in the media, so I thought I would do a video covering what Todd said. I think there's stuff about Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield mostly in this article. So the article's written about like an hour-long interview with Todd by Kind of Funny Gamescast that I don't want to watch because I heard most of it is about Starfield and I don't give a shit. So this article was written by Jody McGregor here from it's PC Gamer. Yeah, PC Gamer. So yeah, shout out to Jody for writing the article. Let's just get into it. So Bethesda game director Todd Howard recently emerged, blinking into the light of day for an interview with Greg Miller on the Kind of Funny Games cast. During that interview, he pointed out that Starfield's next update isn't going to change your mind on Starfield if you didn't already love it. So I saw this quote, and it's one of the main reasons I wanted to talk about this. Business wise, this is probably one of the worst quotes that Todd could have given, right? Starfield didn't do that great. Definitely had the least staying power of any Bethesda RPG I've ever seen. Do you ever hear people talk about Starfield? I mean, honestly, just never. I was pretty excited for it coming out just because it had been a long time since we got a Bethesda RPG, and I knew they'd been working on it for a really long time, and I was hoping it would be good. I wanted to like Starfield, but I thought it was absolute buns. Could not play it beyond like 10 hours. Just thought it was horrible. Not fun. That was the main thing. There wasn't anything fun about the game. I just don't think a lot of people were playing Starfield, so saying that this new update isn't going to make you like it if you don't like it is just like, I feel like the boardroom was fucking punching their desk. Like all the shareholders were writing nasty emails to him after this quote because that's just the worst quote you can make. You should be saying, "We heard your criticism. We want to make the game appeal to more people, especially our hardcore, audience." Something like that. Try to admit that you might have done something wrong and work on it. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky released a dud on and people held him accountable and they stepped up to the plate and now everybody loves that game. Anyway, the topic of the Elder Scrolls 6 came up as well, with Howard reiterating that he didn't enjoy having to announce it so far in advance, but did so because otherwise people wouldn't stop bloody asking him about it. These are bad quotes from Todd. I'm going to be honest. These are kind of bad takes. You're the leader of Bethesda, dude. You can't just announce Elder Scrolls 6 10 years before it can even come out, just because you can't handle people asking you about it. Maybe you guys should have put the resources towards having a team developing it on the side of Starfield in case Starfield turned out to be a shitty ass dud. But anyway, it's our own fault, really. Howard was also careful to point out that Elder Scrolls 6 won't be anything like Starfield. Guys, Elder Scrolls 6 isn't going to suck like our last couple games did. I swear. I think if you look at our games, we've always evolved, Howard said. I don't really agree there. I'd say you've been devolving for a while here. We do have a certain style that we like and our fans like that we want to get better and better at. I think in some ways, in many ways, Fallout 76 and Starfield are a little bit of a creative detour from that classic Elder Scrolls Fallout, a Skyrim or a Fallout 3 or a Fallout 4, Oblivion. Won't mention Morrowind. We're exploring a world in a certain way. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, that's true. He's right about that. And as we come back to Elder Scrolls 6 that we're doing now, we're coming back to that classic style that we've missed that we know really, really well. Okay, so he basically said nothing there, except that Elder Scrolls 6 isn't going to be like Starfield, I guess. But while we can hope the Elder Scrolls 6 returns to Bethesda's strengths as a developer, one thing that will be changing is the engine. Okay, here's Todd. We spent the last several years bringing Creation Engine 2, which powers Starfield, up to Creation Engine 3. That's going to power Elder Scrolls 6 and beyond, he said. Okay, so this is to trick the normies, guys. That's what this is. This is to trick the normies, have them soy-facing about Creation Engine 3 and how everything's going to be different. So Elder Scrolls 6 is basically going to be on the same engine that Morrowind was on. Morrowind was on Gamebryo, and then Gamebryo got turned into the Creation Engine with Skyrim. So Gamebryo was basically a weird RPG engine for like really, really old RPGs back in the early 2000s. But yeah, super fucking old engine, guys. And they basically did this in the past too, where they said, "Oh, it's a new engine now for Skyrim. It's the Creation Engine." But all that was like a fork of Gamebryo, just like kind of like a a modded forked version of Gamebryo. And then they basically did it again with Creation Engine 2 for Starfield, just still using the same engine as forever. That's why Bethesda games are so buggy, is they're just refusing to make a new engine. They just keep using glue and spit and gum and paper clips to hold together this ancient engine. That is probably really hard to work in, to be honest. I would imagine just conflicts left and right because these engines aren't built to make these types of games. And yeah, so they've done it again. They're saying the Creation Engine 3 is a new engine for Elder Scrolls 6, but really it's the same engine that they built Morrowind on. And I have ups and downs about this because I'm sure if they did make a totally new engine or did something like use, heaven forbid, Unreal Engine 5 or something, it wouldn't feel the same. It wouldn't feel like a Bethesda game anymore. Kind of like how I feel like Elder Scrolls 6 isn't going to feel like Elder Scrolls 6 because Jeremy Soule isn't doing the soundtrack. And, that's his own fault. He got into some trouble being a dumbass and a pest. But if they did switch the engine or made a new engine and they didn't do it right, I feel like it could really not feel like a Bethesda game. So there's upsides and downsides to this, hopefully, I don't want the game to suck. I want Elder Scrolls 6 to be good. So hopefully Creation Engine 3 is very different from Starfield's engine, which just made all the NPCs feel lifeless and the world feel boring. And I mean, I know that's not all engine stuff, but, it's part of it. While Bethesda used Gamebryo, okay, so they do say it. While Bethesda used Gamebryo for Morrowind, Oblivion, and Fallout 3, it switched to the Creation Engine for Skyrim, Fallout 4, 76, and then upgraded that to Creation Engine 2 for Starfield. While the assumption was that this upgrade would be enough to handle Elder Scrolls 6 as well, I guess not. Let's hope the upgrade means we get less loading screens in the Elder Scrolls 6 whenever it comes out. I don't know why the thing Jody's worried about is loading screens. That's more dependent on your hardware, Jody. I mean, optimization too, but that should be the least of your concerns. We just want the game to work. But anyway, yeah, interesting article. I would say Todd put his foot in his mouth multiple times in this article. I'm not some new Bethesda hater who wants them to fail. I want Elder Scrolls 6 to be good. I want Todd to succeed. Bruce Neesmith, the guy I covered last time in a similar video to this, is gone. He's not whispering in Todd's ear to simplify every system and mechanic in the game. So hopefully Todd can just cook, just whip it up in the pot, and we get something good with Elder Scrolls 6 with Creation Engine 3. So yeah, let me know what you think. For me, the most interesting part of this whole interview wasn't the engine stuff. It was actually what Todd said about Starfield. That sounds like his pride is hurt to me, and like he doesn't want to admit that they kind of fumbled the bag with Starfield. And rather than being willing to, admit defeat and try to get some of the old school Bethesda fans into it by changing it, they're just going to double down on the, 50 to 100 people playing the game on Epic Games Store, basically dad gamers. So yeah, let me know what you think. Like and sub helps me out a lot. And I will catch you guys in the next one. See you guys.